episode of Johnsequitur. I'm all sweaty and gross and not feeling particularly terrific today. But here we go. Things aren't always like they seem. For instance, you may think that I'm wearing pants right now, but I'm not wearing any pants. Luckily, you can only see up here. It's hot as balls. This time I won't be taking all of my clothes off for the camera, so sorry to disappoint. Anyway, things aren't always as they seem. Maybe you happened to see when I posted the thing about Satanism. Well, there's two different kinds, and the kind that I posted, if you actually read it, has some pretty interesting things to it. Not all of it is good. It tells you that if you run into somebody in a field and they bother you, you're supposed to destroy them. But it also has some interesting things that the original 10 Commandments don't have, like never harm children. I just saw a video the other day where a priest was talking about punching a kid in the chest because he was mocking Jesus. Because, quote, that's what he needed to get on the side of Jesus. Well, let's start with something from there, okay? Let's say you're Satan. And God is tired of your shit. So he throws you into hell. And he gives you very specific instructions, which are basically, when people come down here, your job is to torture them for not obeying me. Now, if you're Satan, this is your punishment. What incentive do you have to follow through on this? I think if you're Satan, you make it pretty awesome for the people who go down to hell. Which, by the way, probably doesn't include a whole lot of murderers who actually end up in jail, because most of them repent. So you're not getting a lot of murderers. You're probably getting a lot of boring people like myself who won't ever do anything criminal, but also won't accept religion. I'm very boring. Sorry, Satan. But hopefully he's taking my advice and sticking it to God by having a good old time in the afterlife. Worrying about what other people do sexually. I listened to a show called You Are Not So Smart, where a bunch of people at a town hall were arguing whether or not a preacher should be allowed to be a homosexual. Can you tell me why it matters where the priest is putting his dick? I've read you silly things out of the silly Bible. They're nonsense. They're nonsense. So if it says in there somewhere, I believe the quote that the woman said was, nowhere in the Bible does it say that preachers and people in charge of the church are allowed to be gay. Which means nowhere in there does it say they're not either. But, pick the side you want to go with. Sort of like the ambiguity of good and bad. If you voted for Clinton in the election, then everybody who voted for Trump thinks that you are inherently evil. If you voted for Trump, then everybody who voted for Clinton thinks you are inherently evil. If you decided not to vote at all, both sides think you are inherently evil and are the reason that they either won or lost or it was close or whatever. So all three sides are inherently evil. Well, which one's right? I'm going to assume it's the one that you picked. That would be my guess. And isn't it sort of contradictory to not be tolerant of people who voted for Trump because they're intolerant? Can you be tolerant of the intolerant? Are you allowed? What kind of person does that make you if you allow that kind of thing to happen? It seems a bit contradictory. Okay, so that's it for the contradictory stuff. Real quick, I want to jump to something else that's been bothering me a little bit. That something else is feeling entitlement. I'm going to tell you my perspective of entitlement. I think it's overblown, for one thing. And something else is that I feel like the reason that people don't like it when people feel entitled is because they've spent their whole lives working. Look, you can tell me that you want to be a hard-working member of society all you want. You can go up and down with this. But it's because it's been ingrained in you. And we're going to get to something else that's been ingrained in you in a second. But it's been ingrained in you that you need to be a productive member of society. In order to be productive, you need to have a job. Now, once you get into that job, we've been over this before, varying levels of productivity. If you work in fast food, yay, you're not on welfare, But boo, you're just some scumbag who wants to make a living wage and can't. This is just where you start. You should be moving on further, which is just so easy to do for everybody, you know? They can just jump right into a career that pays you what you need to live on. So, knowing that you work and work and work and work every single day and never get ahead, it seems a bit frustrating that somebody else doesn't want to do that. But do you really want to do that? Do you really want to do that? I doubt it. I doubt that's what you want to do. I would assume if you were given the option to just have everything given to you, or have to do a whole bunch of work and never get ahead whatsoever until you're 60 and you're pissing your diapers, I think you would probably take do nothing and live like that. Yeah, maybe what you're doing when you're yelling at somebody who feels entitled to having something because they don't want to do the work is secretly pushing down the inner desire to win the lottery or get lucky. Because I guarantee you, you're probably the type of person that goes online and sees somebody getting a new car or going on a vacation and thinking to yourself, it must be nice, right? You probably say that. Well, you're contradicting yourself. Because that's envious. And if you're envious, you want that car, you want that vacation, and you want it given to you because it's not fair that they got it, because compared to you, who's the hardest worker on the planet, nobody compares, nobody's been through what you've been through, you deserve that car, you deserve that vacation. Now let's be honest for a second here. Don't we all? Don't we all? I think so. I think we all deserve that. I don't think that we should have to spend our time. Look, when you get up in the morning at 4:30, like if you're like me, your body says, what the hell do you think you're doing? Your mind says, no! And your heart goes, that's the last place I want to be. But you ignore that, and you go, because that's what everyone else does, because that's what you're supposed to do. And when you don't do it, you're some sort of weirdo. You're some sort of outcast. You're telling me there's no inner desire inside of you to be just free of that? It doesn't mean you have to act on it. I mean, what keeps the society together is people working, but you don't have to be happy about it. You need to use your free time to be happy. And the problem that I have is when I come home from work, I'm done, man. I'm done. My job's not even that hard, but in fact, it's not hard at all. But it's exhausting to sit and stare at this thing all day long. And you know you have to because they will fire you. It just makes you question some things, you know? Speaking of questioning things, if I see one more thing about Colin Kaepernick, I'm going to flip my lid. Oh, I just did it. That worked on the first try. I don't have to edit it. Alright, well you can look at my bald head for the rest of the video. Colin Kaepernick is a terrible quarterback. There are flashes of brilliance in his past, where he's ran like 90 yards on people. We're going to get into football and the insanity of experts later on in a different video, because we're trying to stay out of the realm of sports for the most part. The thing about Colin Kaepernick that everybody knows, besides his terrible statistics, is that he chose to protest by kneeling during the national anthem. How many of you sat on your couch during the national anthem and yelled at Colin Kaepernick for not standing during the national anthem? You see a kind of problem there? Does it seem a little weird to you? It's obviously not nearly as important as you want it to be, but you definitely have to pick a side on the fence, don't you? Well, it is pretty simple. I would rather a non-talented quarterback sit on the ground during the national anthem to protest what he needs to stand up for than him go out, flip over a car, and burn down a building. It really means nothing in the scale of things. It means nothing. But people take the national anthem and flags as this, it means, is that, really? Are people fighting for symbols, or are they fighting for the actual freedom of human beings? Because I feel sometimes like they're fighting for symbols. And this is the kind of shit that gets me in trouble. I feel like they're fighting for, specifically, cloth-made flags and songs that are actually pretty horrible. It's the symbols. It's not the actuality of it. If he were kneeling and saying, "Fuck all soldiers," okay. But that's not what he's doing. He's kneeling during the national anthem for something he believes in because he doesn't think things are being handled correctly, to draw attention to that subject. He's a terrible quarterback. So, it really shouldn't matter. But everybody who did it with him was then scrutinized, as if their athletic ability somehow was affected by what they did before the ball was even moved. But again, football's for another day. That's all I got today. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Make sure to like the video. And make sure to join the Facebook page. And everybody have a good night.